Good evening. Welcome to Candidates Night 2021. My name is Kelly Moore, and on behalf of the North Braintree Civic Association, I'd like to welcome everyone to tonight's Candidates Forum. Tonight we will be hearing from candidates running for Town Council from Districts 1, 2, and 3, as well as candidates from the school committee. Founded in 1978, the North Braintree Civic Association has been hosting Braintree Candidates Nights like this for 4 decades. We're delighted to continue the tradition in 2021. Should anyone be interested in information about the North Braintree Civic Association, we have a table in the back from which you can gather information. So we have 20 days until Election Day, November 2nd. We believe events like tonight serve not only to highlight the candidates who are willing to step up and volunteer their time, effort, talent, and betterment for the betterment of Braintree, but also highlights one of the strongest elements of American tradition, and that is democracy in action. We would like to thank those who are here from BCAM. A round of applause. Even though they're in the back room, they could see us. This event is being shown live on BCAM as well as the Braintree Electric Light Department YouTube channel, and is being recorded so you can see this later in your spare time. We welcome those who are watching at home. At this time, I'd like to introduce the candidates who are running for the non-featured, non-competitive races, so to speak. Please hold your applause to the end. If you hear your name, please stand and wave. District 4 Councilor Stephen O'Brien. District 5 Councilor Meredith Baricka. Sounds like America, Baricka. I even got that wrong. District 6 Councilor Lawrence Mackin in the back. Councilors at large Shannon Hume in the back as well. David Ringus and Charles Ryan, who are all incumbents. Library trustees, Timothy Carey, incumbent. Margaret Morton, incumbent. Jeffrey Coons, incumbent. Robert McCune and Rachel Duffy. Welcome. Electric Light Board, James Regan. Thomas Reynolds in the back, and John McKinley. Welcome. And Housing Authority, Albion Dick Fletcher. A special thank you to Stephen Sasha, Town Councilor District 2, and Donna Connors, Town Councilor District 3, for their service and dedication over the last 2 years. At this time, I'd like to introduce the candidates who are running for the contested races. Please hold your applause to the end. And by the way, why don't we give a round of applause for those I just announced, because that's in my notes. These are the candidates who will be speaking tonight. District 1, Julia Flaherty. District 2, Jody Wallors-Killeher. District 1 as well. District 2, John Mulaney. Joseph Reynolds. And Carol Ann Ricardo. District 3, Thomas Bowes. Elizabeth Maglio. Very good. School committee race. Stephanie Burrell. Linda Doucette. Tracy Lewald. Lisa Fisk-Heger. Matthew Lynch. Thomas Thackeray. And Kathleen Tuffy. Now, at this time, I would like to introduce the Mayor of Braintree, Charles Kokoris, who would like to share a few thoughts with us tonight. Mayor Kokoris. Oh, there you are.
Thank you, Kelly. I figured I'd come up to the front because he told me I had 2 minutes, and he's already given me the 2-minute warning. I just want to welcome everyone to Town Hall. It's exciting to see so many candidates in the race, understanding how difficult it is to go out and get signatures and knock on doors and convince people, to vote for you. It takes a lot of courage and strength, and I applaud each and every candidate that is currently running and all those that are serving, that are unopposed, and those that have served in the past. It's really important for our democracy in our town to have this much engagement in an election, and it's certainly amazing that we will see 3 new members on the school committee, and I look forward to working with whoever is elected on the school committee, and we have a lot of work ahead of us. We'll continue to do that. The town is moving forward, and we've been through some tough times with COVID and the pandemic, but we certainly we came together as a community, and I saw it firsthand every Saturday. We had food drives here, and everybody came out to participate, and just amazing to see how great your town is firsthand on a daily basis. And I'm so blessed and privileged to be able to serve as your mayor, and I look forward to hearing all the candidates tonight. I would say one bit of advice: just take a deep breath and relax. There's nothing to be worried about. Just answer the questions, and you won't have any issues. But it certainly is exciting to see so many folks out here tonight to listen, and to have all the folks out on BCAM listening as well. So I also want to give a special thanks to all the family members who are supporting their candidates, and let's have an applause for the family members out there, Well, I just want to thank the North Braintree Civic Association once again for putting this together, and I wish everyone the best of luck that's running, and let's make sure that everyone goes out to vote either through mail-in or come into the ballot, come and do their ballot in person. But let's get everyone out to vote, and let's show the candidates how much we really care about them by casting a ballot for them. Thank you very much.
That may be the shortest speech I've ever heard the mayor speak. Yeah, you knew that was coming. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Now I'd like to introduce our timekeeper. One of the most important roles and challenging roles of this evening is asking the candidate to stop speaking. Our timekeeper is Maria Bonfiglioli, right there. Round of applause. And now I'd like to ask our moderator for tonight's event to come forward, Jennifer Wadlin.
All right. Okay, if I could ask that the District 1 councilors come up. I've put you in the order of Thank you. Have a seat, ladies. Okay, let's just discuss the rules of this candidates night. So the candidates selected a number out of a very concise program out of a hat to determine their starting position. Each candidate will be given 1 minute for an opening and 1 for closing. There'll be 3 questions for each group. The first 2 questions are going to be a minute, and the third question will be 90 seconds. The timer will hold up a yellow, that's Maria, when there is 10 seconds left, and then a red when you need to finish your statement. I won't, if you're mid-sentence, I will, obviously give some leeway here. This is my first time doing this, but just end it at the sentence. And please hold, if you could, because just for time, all applause until the end. And please, it's really difficult to sit up here, so please be respectful of all the candidates. Okay, so we're going to start with Ms. Waldors-Killefer. Please start with your 1-minute opening statement.
Hello, and thank you to the North Braintree Civic Association for hosting tonight. I am Jody Waldors-Killefer, candidate for District 1, and it's with a sense of purpose and responsibility that I seek to serve my hometown and the residents of District 1. I am a lifelong resident, BHS graduate. My family is deeply rooted in Braintree for generations. They own a local small business, Waldors Trucking. You may get your stickers there. I'm the wife of a Braintree police officer, proud mom of 2, registered nurse of 17 years with ICU experience and medical missionary experience. Currently, I'm a visiting nurse where the majority of my patients are elderly and veterans. I am running because we need truthful transparency, financial accountability, and a counselor that will work directly on the issues facing our district, such as the Peterson Pool, traffic and speeding, advocating for our elderly and veterans, public safety, supporting our first responders, the future of the South Shore Plaza, the Holland 40B project, and working to fix and rebuild our schools. I am Jody Waldors-Killefer, and I respectfully ask for your vote as District 1 Counselor on November 2nd.
Okay. Thank you. And now, Ms. Flaherty, could you give your 1-minute opening statement?
Good evening. My name is Julia Flaherty, and as your District 1 Town Councilor, my main initiative has been to build transparency into this position and be accessible to you. Any elected official has a platform to speak from, but at the end of the day, if all you do is stand on that platform and talk, you're still just one voice. My focus has been to make sure that residents have the information they need to work in partnership with the council. I don't want to stand on the platform by myself. I want to stand on the platform with you. Because together, our voices are strong. And the best way for me to do that is to make sure that you know what I know. That's why I put out a detailed monthly newsletter. It's why I keep in-person office hours twice a week. It's why my email and cell phone are printed on all my literature. People want to engage in local government. Leadership means helping them do that effectively, and that's what I bring to the table.
Thank you, Ms. Flaherty. Now for the first real question, we're going to begin with Ms. Flaherty. Ms. Flaherty, how do you distinguish yourself from your opponent, and why should someone vote for you?
As town councilor, there are 2 messages that I consistently get from residents, and these serve to shape my top priorities in my work for you. The first is to work hand in hand with residents to prevent commercial creep from infringing on our established neighborhoods. I think this concern is felt across Braintree, but it's a sentiment that's particularly strong among District 1 residents because of the presence of the plaza. Working together with residents to bring their voice to the table requires regular updates on developments proposed for District 1, followed by information and resources to take action to ensure that our neighborhoods continue to feel like home. The second message that I hear from residents is a powerful conviction that we need to do a better job taking care of our town. Whether we're talking about schools, the fire headquarters, or sidewalks, residents want to know that our infrastructure is properly maintained and that we have a plan to replace old, outdated components when needed. My priority here is to help residents understand our budget, the financial challenges that we face,
Thank
and
you,
to
Ms.
use
Flaherty.
that foundation to foster a conversation about the right solutions for Braintree to meet those needs.
Thank you. Okay, and now Ms. Wallers-Killefer.
Thank you. First, I'd like to mention my endorsements. I have the honor of being endorsed by the Braintree Police Officer Association. I'm also humbled by the endorsement of the Braintree Friends for Veterans Group. I thank you for instilling your faith, trust, and confidence in me. I will not betray you. My priority will be to focus on issues that specifically impact our District 1, such as what the future holds for the South Shore Plaza and the impact it'll have on our neighborhoods. I've spoken with the plaza management and have been advocating for the neighborhood on important issues such as maintaining balance and buffer, pushing for a full forensic audit, finally giving residents truthful transparency and financial accountability regarding the Peterson Pool, ensuring we maintain safe harbor thresholds so that we can fight against dense housing like the Holland 40B project. All current and future development needs to be done and done so responsibly. As your counselor, I am confident that together we can bridge the gap between town politics and our community in order to move Braintree forward.
Thank you. Okay, I am going to start with you now. What do you see as the biggest issue or issues in your district, and what do you plan to do as town councilor to address these issues?
Okay. As District 1 town councilor, our district is unique. We have several critical issues, unfortunately, none of which there is a quick fix. We are home to the highest traffic volume in our community. Our neighborhoods suffer from speeding and cut-through traffic, late-night noise pollution, such as the drag racing. The South Shore Plaza is one of the largest malls in New England, and its future plans are unknown. Roughly 25% of all calls for service to the Braintree Police are for the South Shore Plaza and the surrounding area. There is a trend of crime sweeping into our neighborhoods as a result of local businesses and properties being targeted. District 1 children attend 4 schools, and those schools are in need of repair and technology upgrades. And don't get me started on the Peterson Pool. The Holland 40B project and the detrimental impact it'll have on our neighborhoods and small businesses in the square. This is why our district deserves and needs a counselor that is dedicated to working on these issues that directly impact District 1, and I plan to do so.
Thank you. Thank you. Ms. Flaherty, do you want me to repeat the question?
Certainly.
Okay. What do you see as the biggest issue or issues in your district, and what do you plan to do as town councilor to address these issues?
Okay. In my travels through this community, I have knocked on a lot of doors, and I've heard from residents in a number of ways, and they specifically ask about 2 particular things. One is they want to make sure that we're taking care of our community. And this means that we need to have a focus on making sure that our schools are taken care of, that our fire headquarters are taken care of, and that our sidewalks are taken care of. There is a driving wish in this community to be certain that we have a plan to take care of those things. And that task begins with a communication of our financial situation. What are our challenges, and what is the best path for us to find to meet the needs that we have inherited. And that is where I can be of service.
Thank you. Okay, and this question I'll start with Ms. Flaherty. Given the declining state of brick and mortar in the U.S., the South Shore Plaza will likely have to reimagine themselves. How do you plan to effectively represent your constituents throughout this process?
What residents in District 1 need is someone who is going to make sure that there's a continuing balance between commercial infringement on our established neighborhoods and the demands that commercial businesses place on our community. There is where the plaza is concerned, there is always a concern that expansion is going to be the constant solution put forward by the Simon Mall. And residents need for the mall to remain relevant because that's important for our commercial tax base, but they need it to remain relevant in the footprint that it already has. And that's the challenge that we face. The mall has just asked for a reduction in the amount of parking spaces. And the thing that a counselor can do is make sure that residents know when those developments are requested and that they're given the tools that they need to be able to respond.
Thank you. Ms. Wallars-Killifer, I'm sorry if I butchered that.
No, you're doing great. You're doing great. Can you just repeat the question?
I will
one more
repeat
time,
the question.
please? Thank
Given the declining state of brick and mortar in the U.S., the South Shore Mall will likely need to reinvent or reimagine themselves. How do you plan to effectively represent your constituents throughout this process?
Walking the neighborhoods and speaking with the residents of District 1, I've heard repeatedly how there are concerns regarding the South Shore Plaza and the impact it has on our town and the surrounding neighborhoods. I've already mentioned the numerous traffic, public safety concerns regarding the mall, as well as the close proximity to the neighborhoods and schools. It's very important that we balance that, but we don't sacrifice the quality of life surrounding the plaza and the Flaherty School. We have an elementary school right next to the plaza. We need to protect that school and our children. With COVID drastically changing shopping habits of America and the model of brick and mortar evaporating, the change for the plaza is inevitable and the future is unknown. It's scary. The Planning Board just approved the reduction of the required number of parking spaces from 4.5 to 4 spaces per 1,000 square feet of leased building spaces, down to, now allowing over 800 spaces there. When I spoke with the manager of the plaza, he said that this request had nothing to do with development right now. I may be paraphrasing. We need to maintain a balance, one that protects the neighborhoods surrounding the plaza while also considering its sustainability.
Thank you. And I will start with you now with your closing statement. You have 1 minute to respond.
Was that question supposed to be a minute 60? Was it
It was supposed to be 90 seconds.
90? Okay, sorry. I don't know if I was supposed to cuss that or not. I'll close.
That's fine.
I'm sorry.
Yes,
I'm new at
the
this,
last
too.
question was 90 seconds.
Okay, thank you. I'm sorry.
I probably
Closing.
should have said that in the beginning.
I'm sorry. Thank you again for the North Braintree Civic Association. Tonight has been an honor to be here. I believe the residents of Braintree have the right to expect financial accountability and truthful transparency from their elected officials. My name is Jody Wallors-Killifer, and if elected as your counselor, focusing on the issues that directly impact our district will be my top priority. Accountability with the Peterson Pool, rebuilding our educational infrastructure and investing in our children, obtaining and maintaining efficient funding for our public safety departments to effectively serve our community, keep our neighborhoods safe, advocating for our elderly and veterans, the Holland 40B project in Braintree Square, plans for future developments at the South Shore Plaza, mindful and safetyness and how it impacts on the residents. I am Jody Wallors-Killifer. I am running for the right reasons that pertain to our district, and I respectfully ask for your vote as District 1 Town Councilor on November 2nd. Thank you very much.
Ms. Flaherty, would you please give your 1 minute closing statement?
This job is about building partnerships with residents to work towards the goals we share for our community. I have knocked on hundreds of doors during this campaign and had hundreds of conversations. But I also called you and emailed you and met with you and sometimes even knocked on your door when it wasn't campaign season. That's the kind of counselor that District 1 needs. I stood with Frax and Braintree residents to help bring an air quality monitor to Braintree to provide data sophisticated enough and reliable enough to be admissible in court so that we can finally begin to hold Enbridge and every other industrial polluter accountable to basic environmental safety standards. I helped residents work together to put up such forceful opposition against the digital billboard in Quincy that the Flatley company finally withdrew the proposal. I have worked hard to demystify complicated aspects of our government, like our budget, so that residents can begin to advocate in a meaningful way for the direction they want Braintree to follow to take better care of our town. That's who I am, and I stand on my record, and that's why I respectfully ask for your vote on November 2nd, so I can continue to do the work that we started together.
Thank you very much. Thank you to both of you. We really appreciate you joining us tonight. Thank you. And if I could ask for Mr. Reynolds, Ms. Ricardo, and Mr. Mullaney. Okay, can't hear me? Okay, got it. Got it. Nope, she's going to put you where you picked. Did you give me this? Who just gave me this? Oh, all right. I will. Oh. Okay, great. Thank you, candidates. We are going to, as again, we picked out of a hat for the position, so we're going to start with Ms. Ricardo. Please start with a 1-minute opening statement.
I would like to thank the North Braintree Civic Association for hosting this event tonight, and especially a big shout out to everyone who came out. This is an amazing turnout. So far, so good. It's been great. My name is Carol Ann Ricardo, and I am a candidate for District 2 Town Councilor. I have spent my entire professional career advocating for people, as well as advocating here in our neighborhood and on behalf of the residents in Braintree. I have consistently amplified the voices of residents in our community when they've not been heard. As your counselor, I will continue to work for District 2 and bring the concerns of residents to the table. I will escalate and support projects that positively impact our community. And I will remain fully engaged in projects that will negatively impact our community. As a resident and advocate, it has become very clear that many counselors, past and present, have abandoned their primary responsibilities. Town Hall is funded by and paid for by the residents, and as your counselor, I will ensure that our voices are heard and well represented. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Reynolds, if we could go to you next for, am I allowed, for a 1-minute opening statement?
Thank you. First of all, I want to thank the North Braintree Civic Association for holding this forum. I think it is a very important step in our democracy, and I want to thank all the folks who came out here tonight. As you know, my name is Joe Reynolds. I do believe that I am the best positioned and qualified individual for the District 2 Council seat. I'll bring common sense leadership and pragmatism to the job. I'm a veteran, having spent 15 years as a United States Army infantry officer. I've served Chief of Staff and Director of Operation under Mayor Joseph Sullivan for 3 years. I was a 13-year member of the Braintree Planning Board, both elected and appointed. I spent close to 20 years managing cash management and financial operations at Fortune 500 companies. I provided risk mitigation to nonprofit organizations during the COVID pandemic when it first started out. My 3 main points to be your counselor: advocate tirelessly for the folks of the district. You need to communicate with them. You need to hear back from them. So that means I will hold constituent hours, and I will give out, I'll send out updates for every meeting and most important issues to the town. I will focus on financial management and oversight. These are the primary responsibilities of the council, to oversee the spending priorities of the town. And secondly, plan for our future. We need to put a master plan in place. It needs to get going. And we then get to follow it with updated zoning laws. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. And if we could, Mr. Mullaney, could you go next for your opening statement? 1 minute.
Thank you. I'd like to thank the North Braintree Civic Association for organizing the presentation. It is the volunteers of Braintree that have made this town wonderful, and I've been one of those volunteers. Let me introduce myself. In 1973, I married Donna Marato and began a wonderful partnership to a woman who's always been there for me. In 1978, we built a house on Herbert Road, great neighborhood, still is. I have 2 children, and I coach them in sports in Braintree. In 2000, with the encouragement of Vinnie Joyce, I became a member of the Finance Committee. Then I became a member of the town meeting member. I became one of the volunteers that this town so needs. In 2004, I began practicing law in Braintree. In 2008, I became a district councilor and served for 6 years as chairman of the Ways and Means. Today, I'm running because I believe the town is having financial troubles that need to be addressed. When I stepped down from the council in 2018, the town reserves were about $13 million. Today, they're $2.9. Working with Mayor Kokoris, President Shannon, whom are council members, I can help in resolving the problems.
Thank you, Mr.
Boy,
Mullaney.
that's tough.
Okay, Mr. Reynolds, I am going to start with you for the first question, and this question is a 90-second answer. Overdevelopment and high-density development is a concern in District 2, as it is in many areas of Braintree. If elected town councilor, how would you personally address this?
Thank you. That's a great question. So as one of my platforms, one of my 3 main points is planning and development in this town. So how are we going to do that? I know that we had tried a few years back to upgrade the zoning bylaws in this town. In the town, at that particular point, there needed to be more educational ramping, a time, at least a year's time, to teach these folks what exactly is going on and what is being changed. Because I think there's a lot of misunderstanding of what's going on with our zoning. For example, 40B is a very important and emotional issue in this town. The density that 40Bs bring is not good for our neighborhoods. It's not good for our streets. So we need to eliminate the 40B even becoming a possibility in this town. And if you're familiar with the 40Bs, you cannot have, you have a 10% threshold the town needs to reach in order to eliminate the option of developers coming in and being able to throw dense projects in without it being overseen by the planning board. So basically, our zoning laws get put off to the side because of that. So we need to put in place an inclusionary law that says that when you build anything that's a multi-unit, that you need to add affordable units. And I want to tell you again, I think there's a lot of misunderstanding of what an affordable unit is. Affordable unit is not Section 8. It is not subsidized housing by the government. It is market rate housing that our sisters, our brothers, our mothers, our fathers, our children, that's the type of development we need that's going to be controlled, and the only way to do that is to get tools in place to make sure that we prevent the developers from developing with a 40B option.
Thank you, Mr. Reynolds. I'm sorry. Mr. Mullaney, would you like me to repeat the question?
Please.
Okay, sure. Overdevelopment and high-density development is a concern in District 2, as it is in many areas of Braintree. If elected town councilor, how would you personally address this?
Thank you. I believe a lot of the stuff that Joe said is accurate. One of the big mistakes that happened was at one point we had 10% affordable housing, and we let it slip below the 10% mark, and that allowed 40B to come in. We have to stop 40B. We have to make sure that every time there's a development, we have 15 to 20% of affordable housing that's required. I believe that what we should be doing is looking at vacant vacant property that's an eyesore and put commercial development into it that is restricted but brings money to the town, gets more tax in there, and start the development of housing, because the additional housing is going to affect an overload on the school system. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Ricardo, I'll repeat the question. Overdevelopment and high-density development is a concern in District 2, as it is in many areas of Braintree. If elected town councilor, how would you personally address this?
From the perspective as a resident, it's become very clear that Braintree has not been managing its development, which is why we are currently at the mercy of 40Bs. And that did not happen overnight. That happened over years of us not being tuned in and not getting the facts. So here we are trying to now move forward with a plan. The plan going forward has to be very clear, which will include working collaboratively and negotiating with both parties, developers and residents. That's something I learned living over on Adams Street and working with the developer who is developing the Graziano property. And he's been amazing with the residents. He has tweaked his project several times over. He has been accessible to the residents, which is tremendous. Another piece I'd like to see is the town compiling a list of underutilized properties, abandoned properties that are owned by the town. Pond Street is a huge, huge asset sitting there empty, continuously sitting there empty as our elementary schools are bulging. Continue. I will continue to work with the residents, bring their voices and concerns to the table regarding development. Thank you.
Thank you. So, Mr. Mullaney, it's your turn to go first. What do you see as the biggest issue or issues in your district, and what do you plan to do as a town councilor to address those issues?
I've been walking around for the last month or so, and I've been asking my constituents that. I've been surprised by some of the answers. One of the most popular responses is they would like to see a Whole Foods, a Trader Joe's, a Market Basket, and I was surprised door after door I saw that. I think the mayor, the council, have to work together to try and attract that business into the town. Another issue that came up was the number of homes on pretty nice streets, and the sidewalks are terrible, but the streets are all right, so we're not going to fix it. And I've already talked to Mayor Koukouris about it, that we should have good sidewalks so our children can ride their bikes on it. Simple issue, simple resolution. Most of all is traffic, and I hear it over and over again, and what you're going to do about it, and I've called a few people, and there's an indication that we can put sensors in, and I'm done.
Thank you very much.
You're my boss.
Okay, so next is Ms. Ricardo, and do you want me to repeat the question? Yes. Okay. What do you see as the biggest issue or issues in your district, and what do you plan to do as a town councilor to address these issues?
So as I was out door knocking, everyone has a different worry or a different concern. And it's kind of a question that varies, and it's kind of subjective. I heard a lot about our schools, the conditions of our schools, the health and safety of our students and our children. I heard a little bit about the compressor station, Peterson Pool, the Holland 40B project, and the 40R that is still lurking. Some of those projects are not in my district, but they impact our entire community, and I've been involved in all of them. I've been out front and center advocating and escalating our voices so that we're heard as to what we want to see. Schools will always remain at the top of my list, And as your District 2 counselor, I will always listen to our residents and follow their direction on what they feel is most important in our district.
Thank you very much.
All set. Yeah, I'm
Would you
good
like me to
go.
repeat the question?
Good to go. I'm all set.
Okay.
Okay, the most important issue that I see in our district, as I go around knocking on doors, talking to people, walking through the squares, it's traffic, traffic. I'm telling you, it's, this district is unique because we're right off the highway. And you've got Elm Street, you got Church Street, you got Washington Street, you have Tremont Street, you have Oak Street, you have Stores Ave, all being used as cut-throughs with these new applications. We have to put in place traffic calming measures. We have to be able to stop traffic that's coming off of the highway during the morning commutes and the evening commutes coming into our residential neighborhoods. Because the second issue I hear is pedestrian safety. And there's the quality of life is another issue that gets added quite a bit. And when you have this traffic congestion in your neighborhoods, trying to get out to go to the store, to pick your kids up at the store, at the school, that is the biggest issue. And the other issue we need to do is you're not one person working on a council. You're a body, you're a deliberate body, you're one vote, and you have to be able to work with everyone else to solve the problems, provide suggestions, and talk with other people and hear them with both ears.
Thank
So,
you.
collaboration will get things done in our district.
Thank you. Thank you. And the next question, I'm going to start with Ms. Ricardo. How do you distinguish yourself from your opponents, and why should someone in your district vote for you?
I think the most compelling difference between myself and the other candidates, I am not entrenched in politics in the community. My first and foremost priorities are focused on the people, the community, and residents. I have no alliance to anyone. I don't work for the town. I don't have anyone who works for the town. I have no political agenda here other than to represent the people here in Braintree and bring our voices to the table at Town Council. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. And next would be Mr. Reynolds.
Next.
Is that right? Next. Yes.
Okay, thank you very much. What differentiates me from my opponents? I should say the other folks who are running for the open seat, because I don't consider them my opponents. What I'm here to do tonight is to explain to you and to clarify why I think my skill set, my professional skill set, my life experiences as a leader, as a manager, as someone who performs due diligence in my role as a chief of staff here, I came to understand how this government works, how revenues are generated, how money is spent, how it is accounted for. I saved this town $1 million in my first year on the job and just standing up an IT governance program because we had such a waste. There wasn't anybody talking to each other. There wasn't anybody watching the gate of how money was being spent. These were great opportunities. 74 Pond Street, as a matter of fact. We refurbished that building under my guidance because what we were able to do is generate revenue out of that building where it didn't exist before, and there's tremendous value in that building giving back to the community. So I have experiences. I have been there. They're tried and true. And my word is my word.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Mullaney, would you like me to repeat the question?
No, I have it down pretty well,
Okay.
thank you. And it's funny, I don't think any of my friends or anyone that knows me would question that I'm different than the rest of probably any counselor. I have stood up when I was the only one talking about it. When I believe in something, I just keep fighting. I fought for the meals tax to get it from 6 1/4 to 7, and everyone told me it would destroy the restaurants in the area, and it didn't. We now get $1.2 million. How long did it take for me to get that passed? It took 3 years, and since it got passed, we've collected close to $7 million. I believe that I fight for Braintree, and the residents of Braintree and no one else. And I don't care if someone doesn't like me as a result of it. And I know that Dan Clifford and I work together often, even though we weren't the best of friends. But what we did is still paying funds. We got the hotel tax and we got the meals tax, and it's bringing money. And I am different than my opponent because when you pull up that red thing, I stop.
Very good. Thank you. So, Mr. Reynolds, I will start with you for a 1-minute closing statement.
Thank you. The main responsibilities for town council is to represent the voters and the concerns of the district. To do this, you must be able to build effective communications and trust with the voters, as well as your fellow councilors and with the mayor's office, and perform the due diligence needed to be on the top of facts and have the ability to collaborate with other stakeholders. We need to work together and not against each other. As your District 2 councilor, I'll be one voice amongst 9 on that council. I'll bring a common sense approach that is pragmatic and practical, and that will serve the greater good of the district and our town. As my experiences in the military, the private sector, and government services taught me, no one accomplishes great things alone. When we need to accomplish important tasks here in Braintree together, we'll need a council who has the ability to effectively collaborate with the full council, the mayor's office, and most importantly, the voters. We need clear-eyed focus and the diligent effort of skilled and experienced elected officials to solve the problems in this town. I can offer that to the people of District 2, and I respectfully ask for your vote on November 2nd. Thank you.
Thank you. And Mr. Mullaney, you are next for a closing statement.
Thank you. There are those in this race that think it might be time for new blood. I'd counter that suggestion by saying that there is a need for institutional knowledge that is lost as each person requires from a Braintree position. A master plan should be created. However, the committee must be made of talented, experienced people that can look to the future and create in this plan. The plan should be reviewed every 5 years. Affordable housing should be provided for our seniors so that when they sell their home, they can stay in this wonderful town. The Finance Committee that I served on was an array of talent that spent much time going over the budget before providing the recommendation to the town meeting members. I served on that Finance Committee for 6 years. While on the Finance Committee as a town meeting member, I helped pass the Quinn Bill, and kind of go past that. 2020 brought surprises, and I can only say I'm going to work with Mayor Kokoris, and I'm happy that both Charles Kokoris and President Shannon Hume have supported me in my endeavor to get elected as I'm done.
And we will wrap it up with a 1-minute closing statement from Ms. Ricardo.
I sit before you tonight with years of experience as a Braintree resident and your neighbor who has consistently showed up as an advocate and voice for the residents. I sit before you tonight with 0 political affiliation, 0 political agendas, and 0 political aspirations. I sit before you with an abundance of experience fighting to improve Braintree. I sit before you tonight with 2 candidates who have decades of political involvement and affiliations that are deeply entrenched in this community. I am a huge advocate for change. I ask you tonight, do you feel Braintree has been moving in the right direction with full transparency under the leadership of those I sit beside? If your answer to this question is no, then I respectfully ask for your vote and support on Tuesday, November 2nd. Carol Ann Ricardo, District 2. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you to all of you. We appreciate you coming, and we're going to ask that District 3 now join us. Thank you. Okay. Thank you. Okay, moving right along. We still have school committee left after this, so let's just keep going. And Ms. Maglio, am I saying that right? Ms. Maglio? If you could please start with your opening statement.
Okay, thank you.
1 minute, please.
Hi, everybody. It is so fantastic to be here. 2 years ago, I was here for the mayoral forum. I was sitting on that side of the room, never expecting I'd be sitting on this side of the room tonight, but I'm pretty excited about it. I decided to jump into the race for a number of reasons, and as I was preparing for tonight, I thought, what would they want to know? What would I want to know about somebody sitting up here that I may not have met yet? I'd want to know that they're competent. I'd want to know that they're invested in the community, and I'd want to know that they have follow-through. So in terms of the competence, I have my political science degree, my master's degree in social work. I've worked in leadership positions at nonprofit organizations in Massachusetts, for New York and DC city and state government. I also am quite invested in the community. My husband and I live here. He's been here for many years. We also started a business here. We operate our small business, our small salsa business, and I will follow through, and you'll hear that from me throughout the evening.
Thank you very much. Mr. Bose, if we could now go to you for a 1 minute opening statement.
Thank you. First of all, I just want to say thank you to the North Braintree Civic Association for hosting this evening's event along with BCAM. My wife Kathy and I have been proud residents of Braintree for 30 years. We've raised 2 children along with our nieces Caitlin and Bridget. My children, along with our niece, oh, I'm sorry, take that back. I'm sorry. My children, along with our niece Bridget, are proud products of the Braintree Public Schools. Seeing the impact of COVID-19 and the effects it has taken on the town financially and to the schools, I have decided to run for the District 3 seat on the council. Based on my past experience on the council and dealing with the budget, I feel I am a strong candidate for the job at hand. I will continue to be a strong voice and willing to work with every resident of East Braintree as I have done in the past. I respectfully ask for your vote on November 2nd. Thank you.
Thank you. And this question I'll direct to you, Mr. Bose.
Sure.
The compressor station has received the green light from the state. District 3 is a densely populated district, and there are several schools within a 5-mile radius. As a representative from District 3, what, if anything, could be done to protect your constituents?
Well, just for the record, I've been opposed from the start of this project. This issue is a collaborative partnership with our surrounding communities that would be affected should a disaster take place. While a district councilor, we met with local, state, and federal officials to voice our concerns regarding this highly dangerous project. Even with those involved against the project has been signed off by state and federal officials. Just recently, the town of Braintree has done oral arguments in the First Circuit Court as to why the compressor station should be shut down. I will continue to work with our partners to shut down the compressor station. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Maglio, would you like me to repeat the question?
Please.
Okay. The compressor station has received the green light from the state. District 3 is a densely populated district, and there are several schools within a 5-mile radius. As a representative from District 3, what, if anything, could be done to protect your constituents?
Oh, there's a number of things that can be done. I am an active participant in the meetings that are taking place. I am an active participant in providing testimony, in going to hearings, in doing the research, and following up with the information that's available. And I had to do this because there was no information coming to me as a District 3 resident. I decided that I needed, in order to find out about this threat, this potentially explosive, toxic bomb that has been built on ash and coal and asbestos, and that is poisoning our coast and our air and our trees and our land in District 3,
In order to learn that, I had to go to the meetings myself. I had to go and participate. I had to do the research. I had to stand up. I had to be counted. I needed to go out and organize with other members of the community, and we weren't there fighting this. Weymouth was there, Quincy was there, Hingham was there. As a local community, there was nobody going up and down the streets like I have been to organize, to educate, to raise awareness, to talk about the threat, to talk about ways to mitigate the threat, to look at how we can preserve our open space, and to make sure that we're having a healthy place for our children to live and to grow and to thrive.
Thank you. Ms. Maglio, I'm going to start with you this time. What do you see as the biggest issue or issues in your district, and what do you plan to do as a town councilor to address these issues?
Okay, I think that one of the major issues that we have just discussed is the compressor station, and then there are the issues that are related to that. There's issues around what's happening up and down Quincy Ave in East Braintree. There has been a lot of things that are happening there. There's industry that is sprouting up. We are seeing our wetlands paved over to make place for parking. There are some investments that are happening there around protecting one side of Watson Park in order to prevent flooding, but then on the other side, we're creating flooding by paving over an area and hacking down wildflower gardens. There's nobody that seems to be at the top looking at this and making plans. And so one of the things that I've learned and that I've talked to people about is that their question is, what is happening? What is going on? There is such a disconnect in information, and people don't know where to step in, how to get involved, how to make something happen, how to make a difference, how to get information. And I'm that person. I've been doing that for the past couple of years because I just needed to. I had to, and I would love to have a seat at the table in the room and officially provide this kind of a service to my community.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Mr. Bose, would you like me to repeat the question?
No, I'm good, thank you.
Okay.
Actually, there are two items of concern for myself and I think the residents of East Braintree. First of all, the sale of the Allen Street property. Although I support this project, it was recently decided that the owner would not utilize the entire parcel. I'd asked if they would then scale back the number of units, and they indicated that they will not. I'm also questioning whether there are contaminants that are in the ground still from the prior use of the property. And I asked if the town would be on the hook if responsible for mitigation if they found something, and nobody has given me an answer to that. The second item I feel strongly for is the school department budget. We just went through COVID-19. We had buses that weren't running, fuel that wasn't done, and yet we had to lay off teachers. Where did that money go? I think there's some mismanagement in the school department when it comes to the spending of their money, and that's it. Thank you.
Thank you. And this time I will start with you, Mr. Bose. How do you distinguish yourself from your opponents, and why should someone vote for you?
Well, I think based on my past experience, I served 12 years on the council, 2 years as president of the council. Working with the state, local, and department heads, know where to go to get problems solved. I answer everyone's calls, every questions. I'm not afraid to speak to people, talk to people if I don't agree with people. I am at least cordial with them, and I explain my version, and they explain theirs, and that's it. Thank you.
And Ms. Maglio, you have a minute. Would you like me to repeat? How do you distinguish yourself from your opponent, and why should someone vote for you?
I distinguish myself from my opponent because I have the drive and the follow-through to actually do the work. I roll up my sleeves, I dig in deep, and I throw myself into things that will make for a better community, like I have been doing. I've been participating in Braintree community meetings for years. COVID made it a lot more accessible because people could be on Zoom, so that just meant there were more meetings to attend and more meetings to watch, and I absorb all of this information because I love this. This is my passion. This is the kind of stuff that I like to do. I want to go to meetings and talk about problems and solutions and how to fix them. I want to work with my neighbors and my community in order to preserve our community and to make it healthy and safe, in order to be a safeguard for the other kinds of things that can happen in this community once we have I sort of veered off a bit, but in terms of differentiating myself from my opponent, with all due respect, Mr. Bose, I have to say that you're part of the reason that I'm running and that I jumped in so late, because we need somebody there who is really going to be a link and a conduit for the community, and I'm sorry, but that wasn't my experience with you when you were there before.
Thank you. And Ms. Maglio, I'm going to start with you. You have a 1-minute closing statement.
Ms. Maglio? Okay. So I mentioned that I really want a seat at the table, and I want a seat at the table because I've been looking through the window, I've been sending emails, a lot of people in this room have gotten my calls and my emails, because this is exciting to me. Being part of a change and creating change is something that is what makes a community tick. It's what builds a community. And if I earn your vote, I'm going to research the issues. I'm going to study the issues. I'm going to be at the meetings. I'm going to do the work in between the meetings, and I'm going to show up at the meetings and continue to share this information. I'm going to bring it back to my community. I'm going to make sure that my neighborhood feels engaged and connected, and I'm going to set up those tools and mechanisms to do it. I also want to know that, we do have a lot of work to do, and we need to work together. All of the counselors need to work together. We need to work more closely with the school committee. There needs to be a link there. We need to have the ability to be able to improve our infrastructure with things such as the master plan. We have an open space plan from 2018. I don't know that anyone's even looked at it in the past 2 years. We have we need to update the charter, and these are things that need to happen for all of us.
Thank you very much. And Mr. Bose, if you could.
Thank you. Once again, I'd like to thank the North Braintree Civic Association for hosting tonight. With my past experience on the council, I feel I would be the best person to represent the residents of East Braintree. My wife, Kathy, and I, as I stated, moved here 30 years ago because we loved everything about this town, from the schools, the activities for children, and the neighbors that we have come to know. We need to continue to make Braintree a town folks love. I humbly ask for your vote on November 2nd. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Good luck to both of you. And the next will be the 7 school committee candidates, so please join us. Liz is going to put your placard out in the order that you chose. Okay, everyone. So you're the lucky, you're the lucky number one. So if you could, if everyone could just settle down a minute so the candidates could speak. If we could just have some quiet. Thank you. Okay, we're going to go in order. This is the order that they picked out of the hat. So we're going to begin with Mr. Thackeray for an opening statement, a 1-minute opening statement.
Hi, my name is Tom Thackeray. I graduated Braintree High in 2008. I graduated Worcester Polytechnic Institute in 2012. And I'm currently an MBA candidate at Fitchburg State and will graduate next spring. The reason I sit up here is because I am very discouraged of what is going on with the schools of this town. And many people may ask why I made my sign slogan what it is. And the reason I chose that is because masking these students for this long is not a benign act by the administrators and the people of the state and the people of this in the federal government. What they're doing to these children is taking away their social interaction, taking away their positive reinforcement through laughing, smiling, and they are taking away their nonverbal communication that these kids thrive on and they need to succeed.
Thank you. And next, Ms. Tuffy, please, an opening 1-minute statement.
My name is Kathy Tuffy. I was a Braintree teacher for over 35 years, certified in K through 8 elementary education, middle school math, and high school math. As a school committee member, my focus will be on academic excellence, student support, and healthy buildings. We should be actively searching for a permanent superintendent who will guide the system to achieve these goals. In 2019, I attended hearings and spoke to legislators to advocate for the Student Opportunity Act, which increases Chapter 70 funding for students with disabilities, low-income students, and English language learners. Braintree saw the first increase in our Chapter 70 funding this year and will continue to see increases as the Act is phased in over the next 6 years. Just as I advocated for an increase to our Chapter 70 funding, I will work to find funding for our aging infrastructure. Healthy buildings mean healthy kids and higher quality learning. Thank you very much.
Thank you. And Mr. Lynch?
Thanks for having me. Oh, that was a little loud. My name is Matt Lynch, and I graduated Braintree High School in 2005, top of my class. No, I'm just kidding on that one. After that, I graduated from Boston College as a history major, and I got the honor and privilege of working for Braintree Public Schools for over a decade. Big fan of Braintree High. I got to coach and teach there. I really developed a relationship with a lot of kids. I really, really liked working with them. But as kind of Tom said, I don't really like the direction the public school system's going, and I think the parents kind of should have more of a say, and I think the state's taking a little bit of that, so it's trying to give that power back to parents. And in order to do that is we have to be able to provide a kind of clear mission for what we want our administration and teachers to do, because combined, we're a very lucky town with, the Braintree administration and Braintree teachers. They are very, very good total force in the education system, and if we give them that right mission, I think we can accomplish our goals. Thanks.
Thank you very much. Ms. Fisk-Hager, you are next.
Hi, I'm Lisa Fisk-Hager. Can you hear me okay? I have been volunteering in the Braintree Public Schools for the last 20 years. I've raised 2 children through the Braintree Public Schools. They graduated in 2010 and 2013. I started out as a PTO mom at Morrison Elementary School, and I volunteered all the way through their graduation. I was very fortunate, through a lot of support from people in this room and people that I know, to have the opportunity to serve on the school committee prior to this. I served from 2012 to 2019, 4 years as chair. Last year, I led the Vote Yes for Braintree Schools in support of the debt exclusion to fund much-needed capital improvements, including South Middle School and roofs and some security evaluations and suggestions, as well as a feasibility study for the high school, which is definitely something that we need. So I love the Braintree Public Schools. I think people move to Braintree for the reputation. I'm worried about the reputation. I've seen what's happened in the last couple of years, and I want to bring my leadership and my experience back.
Thank you very much. Ms. Leewald, you are next. A 1-minute opening statement.
Thank you. My name is Tracy Leewald. I've been a Braintree resident since 2002. I graduated Northeastern University. I worked in leadership roles for the United Way and for Deloitte Services. I've led national teams and had extended overseas stays to create new programs, maximize talent, providing fiscal management, and ensuring safety and security while not losing sight of diversity and inclusion. I am running for school committee for a few reasons. One is to increase transparency, creativity, being proactive, and fiscal accountability. As a business leader, I have ascribed to being transparent within the scope of privacy laws. Our community is entitled to know what the process or reason was to arrive at a decision. This year, Braintree will be choosing a new superintendent and start building some new schools, and I feel it's our responsibility to make sure that we have a new superintendent who will model what our core values are of inclusive and achieving and also being creative. We want to choose. Thank you.
Sorry. And Ms. Doucette, you are next.
Thank you. Hi, my name is Linda Doucette. First off, I want to say I am not a public speaker, so this is killing me right now. I feel that I have a unique perspective as I have 3 children in the Braintree schools. One's in special education, and the other 2 are in general ed. As well as having worked in the school system first as a substitute paraprofessional and then as a permanent paraprofessional in one of the elementary schools. My husband and I have lived in Braintree our entire married life, 22 years. One of the reasons was the great reputation the school system had. While Braintree has a great reputation, I believe there's always room for improvement. Equality of education, infrastructure are 2 areas where improvements could be made. I'm not going to tell you that I have all the answers, but I ensure to you that I will work diligently for the children of Braintree.
Thank you. And finally, Ms. Burrell, you are next for a 1-minute opening statement.
Okay, I'm not a public speaker either. Hi, my name is Stephanie Burrell, and I am running for Braintree School Committee to be an advocate for all of our children and families. I am the proud mother of Brianna and Abigail, ages 16 and 12. My husband Jeffrey and I have been married for 19 years. I have a Bachelor of Science in Criminal Justice from Salem State College and work full-time as a real estate paralegal. I was born and raised in Quincy. My husband and I decided that before our girls entered school, we wanted to make our home in Braintree because of the reputation and quality of the Braintree Public Schools. My goal is to restore that quality education because, unfortunately, today we are falling short. My priorities for our schools include improving and upgrading our IT infrastructure and technology, maintain full in-person learning, but establish a strong and sustainable pivot plan for remote learning for the unexpected, address concerns regarding Braintree High School, such as damages and repairs needed, as well as renovating all of our elementary schools, maintain parental choice to give control back to the parents with the ability to opt out of certain curriculum, make masks optional for vaccinated students and staff if school reaches at an 80% vaccination rate.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So I will begin with Ms. Tuffy in the first question. The high school appears to be falling apart after years of neglect, and technology lags far behind. What are your plans and suggestions for improvements?
Thank you. As I've been knocking on doors across town, the maintenance at the high school and at other schools has been something that people are very concerned with. So how are we going to raise the money to address those issues? Right now, the state has money that they haven't distributed to the towns yet from the Federal American Rescue Plan. There is $82 billion in funding for school infrastructure projects in Congress right now. Whether that will be approved or not, we're not sure, but there is an unprecedented amount of money channeling down to localities and the schools. And as a school committee member, I will help decide how those can be best used in Braintree. Thank you.
Mr. Lynch, you are next. Would you like me to repeat the question?
Yes.
Okay. The high school appears to be falling apart after years of neglect, and technology lags far behind. What are your plans and suggestions for improvements?
So I worked at the high school for over a decade, so I got to see kind of how it is falling apart. I mean, I think they had asbestos in there the other day, and it's an old school. We need a new school. There's money out there. We can track it. I'm not going to ask the citizens of Braintree for more money right now. I mean, we have some tough times ahead. You know, the working class is going to be pretty thin. I'm more focused on kind of dealing with the kids right now. They just went through a lot of trauma, and it doesn't really matter what building they're in or where they're going to school. We got to address those issues because it doesn't matter if you're in a brand new building or if you're in a 50-year-old building. The trauma we create is going to have an effect in the next 5 to 10 years, and the schools are going to be some tough sledding. So, thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Fisk-Heger, you are next. Would you like me to repeat the question?
Yes, please.
Okay. The high school appears to be falling apart after years of neglect and technology lags far behind. What are your plans and suggestions for improvements?
Well, I think it would be irresponsible if we didn't try to work with the MSBA. We work with the MSBA on the two middle schools, both east and south. We were able to get $71 million from the state towards both of those projects. I know that the school committee, and when I sat on the school committee, we put in statements of interest with the MSBA, trying to get the MSBA to partner with us and to get into the eligibility period is when they look at the condition of the building to decide whether or not they want to replace the building or rehab the building. We have not been invited into that. So I think what the town needs to do, and I know the mayor is working on a master plan, I think the schools need a master plan. I think the schools need to be part of the town's master plan, and we need to come up with an itemized list as far as what needs to be done, how much it's going to cost, how are we going to fund it. These are all questions that we need to, again, hopefully can partner with the state. I know that they've also put in January, they're going to put in a statement of interest for an accelerated repair project for plumbing, electrical, and windows.
Thank you. And Ms. Leewald, you are next. Would you like me to?
Yes, please.
Okay. The high school appears to be falling apart after years of neglect, and technology lags far behind. What are your plans and suggestions for improvements?
I would definitely echo what Ms. Lisa Fisk-Heger had to say as far as determining a master plan, whether it's townwide or if the school department is separate. I know most school departments do a separate master plan, but to go along with that, it would be helpful to know the cost associated with everything. If we do the plan all together or if we do it separately, what is the financial impact on that? But we also need to understand, what does need to be improved upon specifically. We need to take an inventory. I'm sure that's done to some point, but we need to really get that down on paper and understand it fully. I also would like to see how we can leverage BELD a lot better. They provide us with our internet, our phone, and our data, so how can we leverage them more to help get the high school where the high school needs to be? And as far as making improvements, again, it needs to be a statement of interest to see how we can get everything improved.
Thank you. Ms. Doucette, you are next. I'll read the question. The high school appears to be falling apart after years of neglect, and technology lags far behind. What are your plans and suggestions for improvements?
So the first thing I think we need to do is take a detailed list for specifically the high school and see what needs to be done and the priority that it needs to be done in. Then we would need to research where can we get the funds for this. After that, a definite timeline to figure out how everything can get done and adhere to that timeline. And as far as the IT is concerned, yes, I think BELD, we need to go back to BELD and say, where can we improve this? How can we get this running up faster? And to the extent that the kids can use it.
Thank you. And Ms. Burrell, I'll read the question again. The high school appears to be falling apart, and after years of neglect and technology lags far behind, what are your suggestions and plans for improvements?
First thing for the immediate term is to complete the inspection and assessment of Braintree High School, if it hasn't been done already, and to use that punch list as a priority rating to see what are the critical needs that should be resolved first, then move on to the other less critical needs. But we also need to think long-term. Responding to emergency situations is expensive. It doesn't really resolve issues long-term. It's a Band-Aid. For long-term needs of our schools in the high school, we must continue to work with the state school building authority to complete feasibility studies and to identify costs and solutions to upgrade, renovate, and rebuild our school buildings. This will save money in the long term, but also provide modern learning environments that our students and staff can succeed in.
Thank you. And finally, Mr. Thackeray.
Hi, I believe we should have some sort of school maintenance advisory board to detail and list out the issues and do routine maintenance inspections to see what is the most cost-effective approach to keep the schools in working order. We do not necessarily need brand new buildings, but we need buildings that the kids can go to school in and they can be safe in while they are there. On top of that, I believe something like the high school should partner with local businesses, not multinational corporations, but local businesses, to form partnerships to help raise money that brings money into the school and also gives kids an opportunity to get real-world life experience, such as internships and co-ops and other things like that within the town. The businesses also need labor, so they would be happy to have it. And then the kids would also get a great opportunity to learn, and I think we could raise money for the high school at the same time. So I think if we optimize the resources within this town, we can fix many of the different issues that occur.
Thank you. And for the next question, I'm going to begin with Mr. Lynch. What differentiates you from other school committee candidates? Why should voters vote for you?
So what differentiates me from other candidates, I kind of have a hybrid background. I was a licensed history, licensed moderate special ed teacher. I taught and coached in the high school for 10 years. And I also have another background where I was an intelligence analyst in the Air Force for 6 years. There I was a veteran of Operation Freedom Sentinel and Inherent Resolve. So I got to actually, work with a team, and what we did was we would take raw data, raw information, process it in real time, and turn it into actionable intelligence on the battlefield. So we're kind of in that high-stress environment, and then I've also been in the schools, so you kind of put those together. I kind of think I'd be a person for the job, and I really appreciate your votes to serve you guys. Thanks.
Thank you. Thank you. And now we'll go next to Ms. Fisk-Heger. What differentiates you from other school committee candidates, and why should voters vote for you?
In the private sector, I work in global financial services. I'm a project manager. I know how to bring a team of diverse individuals together and get a job done. But what differentiates me is my experience on the school committee. I have, again, been volunteering in the schools for the last 20 years. I have chaired the school committee for 4 years. I've served on finance and operations, policy and education subcommittee, the school building committee. I have chaired the school committee for 4 years as well. I know the amount of work that goes into this and the time commitment. The jobs of the school committee is to oversee the budget, $72 million, which is half of the town's operating budget, to hire and evaluate a superintendent, and to establish policies and guidelines and to measure the performance of the schools. I've done all of that. I ask for your vote on November 2nd, one of your 3 votes on November 2nd, so that I can continue that work. As I've said, I've been concerned about what's been happening in the last couple of years, and I would really like to bring some stability and my leadership back to the school committee. Thank you.
Thank you. And next we'll go to Ms. Leewald. What differentiates you from other school committee candidates, and why should voters vote for you?
I think based on what I'm hearing is that we actually have a lot of similarities. A lot of us have a similar background of being in the private sector, having experience with fiscal management, managing a budget, working for Deloitte Services, which is a global accounting firm. I've traveled overseas. I've worked with different cultures. I understand the different family dynamics. Also working in a culture like that, it typically attracts type A personalities where you just drive something down and you just beat it to death until you get it done. You don't care what time of day it is. You don't care that you have 75 things in front of you. You just juggle it all. You juggle it all and you get it done. So I can personally say that too about myself, is if you've ever asked for anybody that I've worked for, they'll always say to you, give it to Tracy, she'll get it done. You never have to ask her where she sits with it. I'm a very good communicator. I like to give updates to people. My philosophy is to get in touch with them as quickly as you can, and if you don't have an update, let them know that you don't, but then let them know that you'll be looping back with them shortly, with that update. Thank you.
Thank you. And Ms. Doucette, what differentiates you from other school committee members or candidates, and why should voters vote for you?
So I think my unique experience of having a child in the special ed department as well as in the general ed department shows that I can maneuver or I know how to maneuver through all the different areas that need to be done for our children's education. I understand I will work as diligently for your children as I did for my children, getting them the best education that they could have and that they can get through the Braintree schools.
Thank you. Ms. Burrell, what differentiates you from other school committee candidates, and why should voters vote for you?
I'm actually going to elaborate on that. I, too, have a daughter who is on a very extensive IEP, and I didn't get to say that in my opening statement. And one of my goals is to have a full evaluation of the policies and procedures that are taking place and make sure that they are being done correctly. But what separates me also is my passion and, more importantly, my voice. I'm not afraid to go against the majority or fall in line because it's an easier path. I'll stand up and fight for every student and every family. I've had enough of the status quo, watching some of the current school committee members sit back and allow things to take place merely because it's easier. It doesn't help our children. I've also worked full-time throughout the entire pandemic. I didn't get to stay home with my kids during remote learning, and I got numerous calls from them about staring at a blank screen, watching it roll and roll while they were trying to get onto Google Classroom. That's why I'm very passionate about improving our IT infrastructure, making sure they have the best modern technology to work with.
Thank you.
And that is why I hope you to vote on November 2nd. Thank you.
And Mr. Thackeray, you are next. What differentiates you from other school committee candidates, and why should voters vote for you?
I have new, fresh ideas that I'm willing to fight for. I'm not going to roll out the same policies that have got us into this state of where we are for the past 20, 30, 40 years, for decades. I will fight for your kids. I will fight for you. There is nothing more important in school. I have a young daughter, and I have another one on the way. And my kids will continue to go through Braintree schools, and there is nothing that I will not fight for the children and for the parents of this town to make sure that we have the best schools that we can possibly have. School has affected my life in great ways. Both my parents have doctorates, and nothing has affected me more than schooling, and has helped us achieve what we have in life. And everything I will do is fight for the people of this town, because I understand how important schooling is. And if we do not have good schools, then we will fail as a town.
Ms. Tuffy, what differentiates you from other school committee candidates, and why should voters vote for you?
Thank you. I think what differentiates me is my experience teaching and working in the Braintree schools. I started as a substitute teacher when my children were young, working a couple of days a week. I taught 5th grade at Monadequid School when it was a K through 5 school. Then when the math director asked me if I'd teach middle school math, I went back, took all my college math classes over again, and got a master's in mathematics for teaching. I ended my career, full-time career, as a math teacher at South Middle School. After I retired, I did some long-term subbing for a couple of years, and I tutored at East Middle School. I know the schools. I've worked in almost every single building. I know what it's like to have the ceiling leaking, to send your kids out to get their coats because it's too cold.
Thank you.
So I ask for your vote. Thank you.
And this go-round, we'll start with Ms. Fisk-Heger. What do you believe are the biggest issues facing Braintree Public Schools, and how, within the scope of the power of the school committee, will you address these issues?
Okay, I think there's probably 3 things. Number 1 is we need to keep the kids in school. We need to keep them healthy and safe. We need to protect our teachers, which I consider to be frontline workers. We need to keep the kids in school. We can't repeat what happened last year or the year before. They need to stay in school. They need to stay healthy. The second is we need to find a superintendent. We have an interim superintendent right now. Our assistant superintendent was given a contract as an interim. We need to decide whether or not we want to extend that, or we need to open up a search committee to determine who our next superintendent will be. And our third is we need that plan. We need to figure out how are we going to deal with these capital improvements, how are we going to improve the high school. I know that we raised money for a feasibility study to evaluate the schools, and I know that we're waiting to partner with the MSBA on that. But I think we need to inventory, as other people had said, and go through and figure out what our needs are, and not just the high school, but across the board, because all of our buildings, we have 11 buildings, they all need to be evaluated, and we need to come up with a plan on how we're going to improve them and finance it. Thank you.
Thank you. And moving right along, Ms. Leewald, what do you believe are the biggest issues facing Braintree Public Schools, and how, within the scope of the power of the school committee, will you address these issues?
Yeah, so many issues, and if we had to condense it to 1 minute. We need to make sure the curriculum is where it needs to be so our kids are achieving. We need to make sure our buildings are safe for our kids to thrive. And we also need to improve upon just safety and security, whether that's from a behavioral perspective or from a physical space perspective. We cannot do all of that unless there is money. We need to partner with the mayor. We need to understand how we can bring more revenue into this town so the school department's budget can be bigger. Similar to what was said down there with Mr. Thackeray, I believe, is that how do we do additional fundraising to get the funds that we need to get? The master plan needs to be done for the schools. So it's taking an inventory of all those things and being accountable for it. Setting goals each school year, we should be setting goals as a committee, saying what we're going to tackle, and we need to report in on it so that the town can measure us on how well we are doing and how successful we are being in doing what you all want us to do. Thank you.
And next, Ms. Doucette, what do you believe are the biggest issues facing Braintree Public Schools, and how, within the scope of the power of the school committee, will you address these issues?
So the first thing I agree is finding a superintendent. Whether the schools need a leader. So either by forming a special committee to complete this task, maybe looking outside of the Braintree system to find the superintendent is what needs to be done. Also, teaching the students with current supplies and the most up-to-date educational materials. Some of the teachers are definitely using older materials. We need to be up to date. And I think one of the most important things is instilling the confidence that the parents of Braintree have in the Braintree school system. And whether that be with transparency or just communication with the parents and letting them know what the school committee is doing to improve Braintree and the students and allowing them to get the education that they need and that they deserve.
Thank you. And next, Ms. Burrell, what do you believe are the biggest issues facing Braintree Public Schools, and how within the scope of the power of the school committee will you address these issues?
I believe the most important issue facing our schools is the infrastructure, the physical condition of our buildings, and also the IT infrastructure and technology. As a parent of 2 children in the schools, I've seen it firsthand. Our students should be taught in a modern learning environment that allows them to excel, not where they are worried about water leaks in chemistry rooms in the high school and freezing temperatures. We must also improve and invest in our schools' IT and technology so they have modern learning tools. They're not staring, like I said, at blank screens and circling screens at home, trying to get on Google Classroom. COVID has shown us that our IT and technology was not prepared to meet the needs of remote learning, and it's critical that we make those investments. And I think we need to also, sit down and talk to the mayor and see where we can do that. Also listen to parents and see where they would like money to go to as well, see what their questions and concerns are. I feel as though sometimes that the school committee doesn't listen to the parents, and I think that would be a good idea as well. That way we are not dealing with more issues in the future.
Thank you. And Mr. Thackeray, what do you believe are the biggest issues facing Braintree Public Schools, and how within the scope of the power of the school committee will you address these issues?
For any school system, the biggest issue facing it is the education for your children. Yes, the buildings matter. Yes, the superintendent matters. But the education of your children is the most important thing, and that is what will help them succeed in life, and that is the point of education. The point of education is to help them think, help them achieve success, and help them become a responsible adult. And that is by far the most important issue. And I will do anything in my power to help advance that, whether it be curriculum, whether it be technology in the schools, in the classrooms, whether it be working with others to get people in to have different types of activities that they have taken out of the schools for a number of years and decades, where we no longer have alternative education curriculum where it helps kids grow and learn and educate themselves and have the ability to think on their feet and critically think.
Thank you. Ms. Tuffy, what do you believe are the biggest issues facing Braintree Public Schools, and how within the scope of the power of the school committee will you address these issues?
Thank you. The kids have had a very, very hard 18 months with pandemic. The remote and hybrid learning has revealed disparities in learning. Some kids did okay, but many of them fell behind. The MCAS data from that just was released says that Braintree 3rd to 8th grade dropped 13% in math. In 10th grade, 9% drop in ELA and 18% drop in math. Now that a drop was expected, but how are we going to get the kids back to where we would expect them to be? I think that we need to be paying attention to physical health and mental health, as well as learning. We need to do formative assessments, diagnostic assessments in the classroom that can be just done by walking around, or little quizzes, and then start to remediate those learning losses.
Thank you. And Mr. Lynch, you are last. What do you believe are the biggest issues facing Braintree Public Schools, and how within the scope of the power of the school committee Will you address these issues?
I agree with a lot of what the candidates have been saying up here. I think the most important thing is focusing on the children. A lot of kids behind, especially in the reading aspect for the younger kids. We have to look in that. The social emotional stuff is definitely going to be a problem in the next couple of years. And, we're going to have to make sure we support the teachers because there's going to be a lot of, kind of disciplinary things come kids acting up just because of what we put them in there. So the school system's going to be hard. It's going to be a hard job for a lot of the teachers. So as a school board, we got to make sure we're supporting the teachers so they can actually help the kids. We got to give that clear-cut mission, as I said. And obviously, as people have been saying, we need to start and get a superintendent who's ready for this job because it's a big undertaking for them, whoever's going to step in next. So thank you.
Thank you. And for the last question of the evening, we will start with Ms. Leewald and give a 1-minute closing statement.
Sorry. So in what I would like my closing statement to be is basically just what questions weren't asked tonight and why I feel you should vote for me. Other things I feel like the school committee needs to do going forward is definitely taking a look at what additional programs can we offer to the community. Can we get to the place of having free full-time kindergarten? I understand now with the way that the funds are that probably isn't the best time to do that, but let's make the plan, let's do the research, let's get it all done so when we are at a place to grow, we will actually have all the data that we need. How can we do after-school care? A lot of the private schools around us do it. They have the space. We have the space. We can do it if we do the research, and we can put a plan together, and we can offer that to folks in our community. And the other big thing that I would really like you to all consider is we need to talk about enrollment. Enrollment is going down. We need to talk about it, and we need to talk about how can we stop having it decline, and what can we do to get those families back to this town or get those families not to keep leaving to go to different private schools and to stay here in our school system.
Thank you. And next is Ms. Doucette for a 1-minute closing statement.
So in closing, I'd like to reiterate that I feel that my background and dedication will allow me to work with and for the children of Braintree to ensure that each child receives an education they not only need, but they deserve. If, or should I say when, I'm asked a question that I do not automatically know the answer, I can guarantee that I will research the issue or the question and return an informed and concise answer. While I may not be a public speaker, what I am is passionate about the children of Braintree and the education they deserve. And if you don't know me, but if you don't realize how much this is killing me sitting up here right now, and the fact that I could do this and make sentences, you know I can do this. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Burrell, you are next.
Okay. Thank you, everyone, for giving me the time to lay out my plan and goals tonight. When you leave here tonight, please remember these key details. I will fight for maintaining full in-person learning, improving and upgrading IT infrastructure and technology, addressing the damage at Braintree High School and all of our schools, advocate to have a full review of all SPED policies and procedures to make sure everything is being done correctly. When you vote on November 2nd, just remember this. You're voting for a representative to fight for the children and families of our town, something I feel has been lost over the past few years. Please vote for me, Stephanie Burrell, on November 2nd, to fight for your children. Thank you.
Thank you. And Mr. Thackeray, a 1-minute closing statement.
As I have stated throughout this, my main closing statement is that I will always fight for the parents and the children of this community, and most especially the children that are in these schools and will be coming through these schools. I will fight for tirelessly to help them succeed in life, to help push the curriculum forward so they have the tools at their dispense where they can build and grow and succeed. And as stated before, if you look in the patch, the MCAS scores have been dropping. That is a disaster. We need to improve our schools and the curriculum and how kids learn, and we need to implement new learning techniques and new technology to help them grow and to be successful adults in the world. And that is the most important thing that we can give back to our children is education. So that is what I will push for, and I will always fight for your children.
Thank you. Ms. Tuffy, a 1-minute closing statement.
I'd like to thank the North Braintree Civic Association for hosting this candidates night, and to all of you who are here in person or listening online. The Massachusetts State Constitution says that knowledge, wisdom, and public education must be cherished. Those words are more important than ever after 18 months of disrupted learning. I believe that my many years of experience as a parent, an educator, and a volunteer in Braintree Public Schools will be a valuable asset as a member of the school committee. I have firsthand knowledge of our old school buildings, and I will advocate for accessible, safe schools designed to help students meet the demands of a 21st century economy. To cherish public education, we must make sure it fulfills its promise to meet the needs of all students. As a school committee member, I pledge to work toward this goal. I respectfully ask for your vote on November 2nd. Thank you.
Thank you. And Mr. Lynch, you are next for a 1-minute closing statement.
So I want to thank you to the MBCA for hosting this tonight. Thank you for everyone to come out. I appreciate everyone listening to me. As you can tell, not really a politician. Never thought I'd be up here doing something like this. But I was never the greatest teacher. Well, my big thing was I really cared about the kids. You know, I loved building confidence in these kids and kind of making sure they got the same opportunities I did in life. You know, Braintree Schools has given me everything. I've been in it for 3 decades. Almost. And I really think we need to look at what we're teaching them, and if that's really the way, you know, kind of the country or the town wants to go, it's fine, but I think we need to have some conversations, you know, especially about this diversity, equity, and inclusion, and, you know, we're inclusion stuff. You know, everyone can say it, but I don't know if it really means that, you know, especially the word equity. Equity means if we're equal, we're not free. If we're free, we're not equal. So I think we need to look at the curriculum and make sure we're actually giving these kids and we're going in the right direction. And, you know, we'll let the parents decide. So I hope you vote for me. I'll work for your kids. Definitely work for you guys. Thank you.
Thank you. And the final closing statement of the night is Ms. Fisk-Heger.
Thank you. I love the Braintree Public Schools, as simple as that. I have enjoyed every minute that I have spent volunteering. I work for a large financial institution, and basically I feel like my day job, I make money for the CEO. This is my community service. This is what I feel passionate about. I love supporting the Braintree Public Schools. When I was in PTO, I would say after every meeting, it's all about the kids, and it is all about the kids, and that's why I'm doing it. And I ask respectfully for your vote, one of your 3 votes. I give all of these people credit for stepping up. It's a thankless job. A lot of people have come up to me and said, why do you want to go back? Because, again, I love the Braintree Public Schools so much, and I do want to make life better for your kids. And I respectfully ask for one of your votes on November 2nd. So thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you for participating. Thank you.
If you are a current candidate, if you are a current office holder, please stand up. If you're standing in the back, kind of move forward, and you guys can stand up because we are finished with the school committee, and they did awesome. If you're running, if you're an office holder, please stand. A round of applause to everyone who's running, a round of applause to everyone who's putting their time, their effort, their commitment, and their heart into running the race and making Braintree a better community. so I've been asked, and by the way, the timekeepers did wonderful. That was great. I've been asked to say this from the town clerk. Would like to inform voters that absentee and early vote ballots are now available. Absentee and early vote ballots must be requested in writing at least 4 business days before Election Day. Excuse me, please. Lee Dingy, especially you. Thank you. I'm watching you, Lee Dingy. Applications are available on Secretary of State's website or town clerk's office, which is right out the door here. If you have a son or daughter away at school, a member of their family may take a ballot request on their behalf. Applications may be submitted by mail. I'd like to say, great job. Everyone else is saying it, so I might as well say it too. Have a great night, folks.